Hollywood or Malibu?
Well, I think he was in Hawaii last
Hawaii,
year.
my bad. Hosting Jeopardy? I forgot. I lost track.
He is expected to be back for minicamp in June.
Oh, June. Oh, okay.
So
we'll
the off-season program, phase 1, is team meetings, strength and conditioning, physical rehab, and organized teams activities, which begin in May, can include non-contact practices and voluntary veteran minicamp. So this is all the voluntary stuff. And OTAs begin May 23rd. And training camp, the mandatory minicamp is June 7th through 9th, which is a month out from training camp. Look, this is not who Aaron is. And, Tom Brady skips these. A lot of guys skip the voluntary ones,
well, a lot of guys,
when you're a veteran.
A lot of guys
don't win back-to-back MVPs and then get knocked in the first round of the playoffs to a wild-card team at home.
A lot of guys don't have the worst receiving core in the league. That's just my opinion, but what do I know?
Look, Aaron's entitled to do whatever he wants. I do think
the messaging's not great.
At some point or another, we can stop talking about him as somebody who is interested in winning championships.
That's right. I mean, listen,
all is fair, right? You are entitled to do whatever it is that you like to do.
Yeah.
And the reaction to whatever it is you like to do is also fair.
Yes, absolutely.
Like there is something in that. I don't know that he has to be at voluntary minicamp, whether that's going to change things or not. Well, but I do know that the end of your season was a disaster.
By the way, I don't think Matt Stafford does.
No, most veteran quarterbacks are not at voluntary
because he's got Cooper Kupp, the same tight ends back. He's got his number 3 back.
Oh, Matthew Stafford also just won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, so but he'll probably be at camp because they have Allen Robinson. He wants to get some throws in. But you know what? Listen, as America's honesty broker, the country understands my fight for truth in journalism, except in Milwaukee, where I'm reportedly anti-Aaron Rodgers because I say things like his messaging's terrible and it feels like it's always, hey, you need me, I know it, I'll see you when the season starts. Just my interpretation.
Once again, I don't have a problem with him skipping minicamp.
Right.
I think the season ended
poorly.
I think it was a cataclysmic disaster, and we did not emphasize how badly the season ended. What was the difference between how the Cowboys season ended and the Packers season ended? But we gave the Cowboys, we were fired the coach, and it was a disaster, and Dak's overpaid. The Packers were the number 1 seed in the NFC and had back-to-back MVP as their quarterback.
And everybody's
and
all
lost
good.
At home in their first playoff game to the wild card
with a huge weather advantage over moderate and warm weather teams.
Yeah, so I mean, it's fine. You don't have to go to minicamp. I just don't. Right. I'm also entitled to think that you're not a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, well, I totally agree with that. Now that could change if they get Terry McLaurin from Washington and draft one of the top 5 receivers.
I knew.
Yeah, that seeding matters a little bit.
Oh yeah, listen, it's. If Cleveland was in Cleveland last night and Jared Allen's healthy, okay, you have a different game maybe. It's just the bottom line. I got to play at home. These are playoff games. You can tell from how many minutes the Stars play. By the way, the Stars weren't missing any games last night, right? Like everybody played last night, right?
Are there people arguing that these are not playoff games?
Well, everybody's saying, they're not playoff games. They're play-in. They're playoff games. I love the play-in tournament, by the way.
I think it's great.
Well, listen, if you can get me to a television set, that tells me that you, as a sport, have created urgency. Because I'm not going to sit around and watch regular season baseball games for 9 innings. So I just instinctively, I go to stuff that matters. I watch the Masters, March Madness. Last night, I could have done a lot of things. Got the dogs, opened up a beer, and sat for 4.5, 5 hours and watched the NBA basketball because I knew it mattered. And the games were great.
It did matter.
And the games were fantastic.
I loved it. I thought they were both great games. So the top NBA MVP candidates this year are Jokic, Giannis, and Embiid. If Kevin Durant had a vote, he would choose Embiid as this season's winner, but Katie doesn't think he'll end up winning the award.
There's a lot of players that have been controlled by their narrative. Some of it has been because of the player. Some of it just has been because of, perception of other people about that player. In Joel's case, more people just like Giannis and Jokic. Simple as that. That stuff really doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter, when it comes down to awards like that. But yeah, Joel, he probably just liked those other guys better than you personally. I mean, it's not fair at all, but that's just usually how it goes sometimes. But if I had a vote, I would choose Joel.
By the way, this is fascinating to me. I'm not saying he's wrong, but so the players think people don't like Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid thinks that.
Why would that be?
They don't like
He's
Joel Embiid.
fun. He's on social. He overcame the Ben Simmons nonsense. Who doesn't like Joel Embiid? I don't understand this narrative.
Joel thinks it's a Philadelphia thing, Philadelphia bias.
Oh, they're obnoxious, but so is Boston. We don't
Sixers
care.
Bias. Well, I don't know. Out of the voters, look, I got to be honest with you. I'm growing very bored of the NBA MVP.
I'm over that award. It's the Heisman Trophy. I gave up on it 10 years ago.
I'm starting to just not care anymore.
Yeah.
Cool, great honor, but the amount that LeBron has won is laughable.
If you look at other shows that do what we do, how often they talk about awards and how often we do. We almost never do. I don't talk about the Heisman. I think awards are stupid. Once they gave it to Westbrook as the MVP, who elevates nobody, I'm like, I'm out. Okay, it's a silly award now. It's a stat award.
I mean, you were very adamantly against him as the MVP.
I thought it was ridiculous.
Well, Jokic is favored this year, and I think when people get outraged at the idea that Jokic shouldn't be the MVP. I'm not saying he's not an unbelievable player and hasn't had an MVP season. And if he won, it wouldn't be outrageous.
Right.
But they are a 6th seed in the West.
Yes, right. That means they may not be a top 12 team in the league. Yeah, it's a very fair argument.
So you're arguing that he's had to overcome injuries on his team, which I totally understand. So does that mean that any player that plays for a good team with full compliments should not qualify as the MVP?
That's kind of a weak argument. And nothing against Jokic, but how many stars miss games? Every team is beat up. Chicago's fallen apart. The Lakers fell apart. The Clippers fell apart.
Without Ben Simmons for half the year.
Outside of Phoenix, and they lost Chris Paul for an hour, everybody in the league falls apart. So I don't want to hear about, my guys got hurt. Everybody's hurt. Jesus, Kevin Durant had James Harden quit on him, and Kyrie couldn't play home games, and he got within an inch his toe on the three-point line of going to the finals last year. I don't want to hear about my guys are hurt. Everybody's hurt.
Right. And again, Jokic has had an unbelievable season. I mean, you're looking at the statistics right now. But if the argument is he had a better statistical season than he did last year when he won the MVP, then it's just a stats award and just give it to whoever has the best stats every year.
That's my argument.
So, what is an MVP? What does value mean? And you can't just keep talking about he just doesn't have his players with him, so that's why he should win the MVP. So Giannis, because before the Bucks weren't good enough. Now that the Bucks are the defending champs, now Giannis is on too good of a team to qualify for MVP.
Well, that's what it is.
And Joel Embiid is either got Philly bias.
Now we're bored. We got bored with Michael Jordan winning it. We got bored with LeBron. Now we're bored with Giannis because his team's too good. It's his team's too good because of him. They have a losing record when he doesn't play.
Right. And then I don't really know what the argument against Embiid is, other than just that Jokic has better statistics overall than Embiid. But Embiid has the second best odds at plus 250, according to Fox Bet. Jokic is the favorite. I think I reached the point officially this year where I don't care about the MVP anymore.
I don't.
I just am like, I don't. Whoever wins it, congratulations to you. It's still a nice thing to win, but I can't get into the debate at all.
I'm not an awards fan. Anybody that's listened to me from the Portland days I've won some awards in my career. They're somewhere in the garage. We all know who can play and who can't. We all know who can broadcast and who can't. We all know there are people that are good at their job. I'm not, he won an Emmy, she won an Emmy. Yeah, but we don't really think they drive audience. And awards are totally subjective, from Hollywood to media to sports. They don't validate stuff for me.
True, I guess, accomplishment is winning, right? That's the ultimate, you're the best. That's what we have parameters for competition. So yes, I'm with you. If it's a subjective award, which we're about to talk about in a second as well, they are nice and prestigious, and it does mean that you're, honored amongst your peers and recognized for your work.
We just don't care about it.
My favorite award is a check.
Boom.
That's my personal
Every Thursday,
award.
We get an award.
Yes. So speaking of awards, Suns head coach Monty Williams has been named Coach of the Year by the National Basketball Coaches Association for the second straight season. Now, this one I think is actually interesting because it is voted on by all 30 NBA head coaches. So it truly is your peers
now that's
honoring you.
By the way, there's an argument to be made. I don't know when they changed it to this, but that's what I liked. Coaches voting on coaches, because coaches know the crap coaches go through.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they know all the.
They know the behind-the-scenes
They know
stuff.
the needy general manager,
Yes.
the lousy regional scout who screwed you on a draft pick, the nutty owner, and the star that's a diva. So coaches know what coaches go through.
Yes, and what Monty's done in Phoenix is remarkable. So he led the Suns to a 64-18 record, which was the best in the league, and set a new franchise record for most wins in this season. They also became the first team in NBA history to increase their win total by at least 11 games in 3 consecutive seasons, and he's been the coach for all 3 of those seasons. He's done just a tremendous job there. So best team in the league, and we're all excited to see what they do in the postseason. So the Packers 2022 offseason program will begin on April 18th.
It will. Who will be there?
Lots of guys will be there. Who will not be there is Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, that's interesting. They don't have any receivers. You want to build some trust. He won't be there. Right.
He's reportedly expected to skip voluntary meetings and workouts this spring.
Okay.
So these are not the mandatory ones. Remember, he skipped the mandatory ones last year.
So when they draft 2 wide receivers, and they drafted Aaron Rodgers last year, instead of building trust with them, as